Well, something very interesting is happening right now on TikTok, on social media. You should pay close attention, not just because of what it reveals about the global economy, because of what it reveals about the psychological, the cultural, and the civilizational fraud that's at the core of Western society, Western civilization, the Western world. You've got Trump's new tariffs against Chinese goods, and now Chinese manufacturers are doing something about that that's unprecedented. They're going on social media and they're saying, we're the ones who make your luxury goods. We make your handbags, we make your shoes, we make your designer sunglasses, and so on. If you think that they come from Milan or from Paris, no, they come from China. And they're not just revealing that they're the ones who are manufacturing these goods, they're revealing the costs. They're revealing the margins, the markup. They're saying this handbag that sells for $2,000 in the West, well, it only costs $40 to make, and we'll make it, and we'll sell it to you directly. Now pause and reflect about that, on the depth of what that means. This is more than just a business revelation. This is a civilizational unmasking. They're exposing that the West actually produces nothing, but they take credit for everything, just like with colonization. The Western world has built its global prestige and its reputation on the central myth that it's the home of excellence, and that this excellence is a byproduct of their unequaled freedom, that Western societies are the pinnacle of quality, of craftsmanship, of innovation and refinement and so on, and all of this because they have so much liberty and so much freedom. So creativity and excellence thrive, right? Brilliance and hard work. All of that flourishes in the great sunlight of Western democracy. Meanwhile, actual excellence is outsourced. The only thing that you do is slap your label on what others make. You slap your logo on things that are made by the people who you demonize, who you disrespect, who you denigrate, who you look down upon, who you call peasants. Everything about your success is actually made possible by people who you call losers. The only thing that the West excels at is branding, taking credit. Your whole economy is a scam. A logo, a stamp, a label, and then they inflate the price 1,000-fold. That's what you make. You make logos. It's not a system of productivity. It's a system of appropriation. It's an economy of logos. It takes what others produce, stamp their name on it, and then sell it back to the world at an obscene profit. That's not excellence. That's fraud. And no one should be surprised by this, because this is a pattern that repeats throughout your so-called society, your so-called civilization. From Elvis Presley singing Hound Dog to the crown jewels of the British monarchy stolen from India. You're that dumb jock who puts his name on a test that he paid someone else to take for him. That's America. And you're literally charging people for nothing. It's like how you buy a $5 coffee that's 80% foam. Well, now the Chinese manufacturers are going online and they're telling you that you're only getting a thimble of coffee, a thimble of espresso, and 2 tablespoons of milk, and it should only actually cost you less than $1. That's the equivalent of what they're doing. You're literally paying for the privilege of drinking from a cup with a logo on it. So how fake is that? I mean, imagine being some rich idiot who's spending all of this money on a handbag, and you thought that your wealth was buying you some sort of exclusivity, who thought that, this branded handbag or that branded handbag was actually made from a higher quality leather than a suburban soccer mom could afford. Only to find out that even the highest quality of cowhide is actually still accessible to the janitor of their Manhattan apartment building. Well, what are they going to do now to try to be exclusive, to try to be fancy? Get handbags made out of giraffe skin, some endangered species? See, they're even scamming the wealthy. It's a surrealist economy. They make you poorer than you should be, and then they charge you for things far more than their actual cost. It's just like financialization, the same way that that's fake money, it's fake luxury. It's all created by spin. Your coffee is all foam. Now, theoretically, with these Chinese manufacturers, what they're doing should open up all sorts of opportunities for people in the West. Because now you can buy directly from these factories. All the factories that make these products. You could buy wholesale, you could buy bulk, you could create your own supply chains, you could even route them through other factories, say in Indonesia or in Malaysia or wherever else, and then have those factories slap your own logos or your own tags on them, saying that they were made in that country to bypass the tariffs, and boom, you have your own business. You can even make your own designs with identical materials, with the identical quality standards of all those luxury brand companies. But I know that the only people who are going to even do that most likely in the U.S. are going to be immigrants because Americans themselves are not actually anymore an enterprising people if they ever were. You don't actually come from a culture that has initiative. You know, I even saw one American on social media whose response to the videos being made by the Chinese manufacturers was, oh yeah, I'd love to get a Birkin bag at an affordable price. So if you're one of those factories that make the Birkin bags, well, DM me and I'll buy it. See? This is the thinking. You contact me and I'll pay for it. I'm willing to consume at a lower price. There's no initiative here. As if that factory is going to just jump at the chance to DM some random guy looking for a bargain. This is the thinking level. And imagine still wanting to have a Birkin bag after finding out that they're not actually prestigious or luxurious at all. But your mind is still so programmed. Your mind is still so indoctrinated to think that that it's more valuable than it is, even after you just found out that it's not. So you still think that you're getting some kind of a bargain, rather than understanding that the Chinese price is actually just what the price should be. You understand? No, I don't think American consumers can make the adjustment from consumption to entrepreneurship. Because they can't even break free from the brainwashing, the marketing, you know? You're still having people wanting to buy products that they associate with wealth, even after learning that they're not genuinely expensive. I mean, how do you imagine that walking around with these items, you know, a Birkin bag or what have you, how is walking around with these items now going to be even prestigious anymore? I mean, think this through. How does this actually not destroy the whole luxury brand business model completely? Like I said, how are those companies ever going to be able to convince people to pay those massive markups now? I mean, how are those companies not actually even going to face legal problems, to be honest? You know, claiming that their products come from France or come from Italy or what have you, when they're actually made in China, and we see that they're made in China, and they're only labeled in Europe. I mean, you could actually face some sort of a class action lawsuit for fraud. You know, people who fell for it, people who spent thousands of dollars because they thought that they were buying something special from some, you know, high-class European craftsmen that don't exist. Turns out European excellence is Chinese. Italian leather comes from Africa. It's all a giant scam. It's like plagiarism, but with goods. Passing off someone else's work as your own. That's what plagiarism is. You know, they call it counterfeit when you sell that same item without the logo on it. But actually, putting the logo on it is the real fakery. And I mean, consider the fact, looking at global economics, consider the fact that most of the brands that are being exposed by these Chinese manufacturers are European luxury brands. You know, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Versace, Chanel. All of these companies contribute tens of billions of dollars to their economies, to the economies of the countries that they're associated with. They're responsible for thousands of jobs, if not tens of thousands. Tourists, too. People actually travel over there to get those things. Yanking the curtain back on the fraud of these companies will potentially be a serious blow to European economies. No joke. It's all part of the destabilization of Europe. Not to mention, like I said, that they could even face some sort of investigations and lawsuits for lying about where their products are actually made. Like I said, even your rich people are getting scammed. You know, you can't even produce anything that's fancy enough to actually deserve an exorbitant price. I mean, at least in Dubai, they sell stupid gold-plated iPhones, diamond-encrusted iPhones. At least with that, you know that your decadent, obscene spending is actually getting you something that's genuinely worth the money. But these luxury bags, these clothes, these designer clothes and shoes and what have you, well, their prestige and their value is purely based on perception. It's based on branding, not on actual quality, not on actual standards. You know, I said a long time ago that every price tag on every item sold in the market should include what the markup is. You know, this is the price and this is the actual cost of producing it. Then you could decide for yourself if the markup was worth it or not. Well, China's basically doing that for you now. They're literally telling you how much more you have been paying for these items, how much more these companies have been charging you for these items. And now it's up to those companies to try to justify those insane markups, or rather it's upon you to demand an explanation. But really, I don't know how everyone doesn't already know this already. I mean, forget about the luxury brands, even the non-luxury items, you know. Already, anytime you go shopping, you go to a store, say, and you buy something that's on sale, they say it's 50% off or 70% off or whatever. That just means that regularly you're paying 60 to 80 to 90% more than their break-even price because they're still making a profit even when they sell it to you at 70% off. Meaning, when it isn't on sale, you're getting absolutely gouged on the price. Because yes, that's what they're revealing about the luxury brands, but it doesn't only apply to the luxury brands. It's everything. Your whole economy is based on the principle never give a sucker an even break. And that's what you call the glory of the free market. Just take advantage of everybody. Meanwhile, in so-called communist China, where there's supposedly no freedom, there's supposedly no liberty, there's supposedly no democracy, and so on, in that so-called authoritarian, terrible country that poses a threat to the whole world, people are actually buying things at the prices that reflect their real cost. They're paying fair prices. And another aspect of this that no one in the West wants to talk about, they'll say that if those goods were made in America, they'd be too expensive. And in fact, that's why so many manufacturing jobs even went to China in the first place, because of so-called cheap labor. That's what we always hear, right? They'll tell you that American workers want to be paid too much. It's the workers' fault. And I even said it the other day. I said, if you made iPhones in the United States of America and not in China, well, your phone would be $10,000. And the only way that they would ever accept to even bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. was if they could get factory workers to accept Chinese wages and Chinese conditions. Okay, but why? It's not really because workers need to work that cheaply. It's because Apple executives will not accept a pay cut. That's the real issue here. I mean, when Louis Vuitton charges 20 times the cost of production for a bag made in China, where do you think that profit is going? You already know it's not going to the labor. You already know it isn't going to the factory workers in China. No. That markup is going into executive pay packages. It's going to executive bonuses and perks and so on. Do you understand? Because you absolutely could manufacture these things in the U.S. You could, assuming that you could ever get Americans to, obtain the necessary skills to do it and be willing to do the work in a factory. You absolutely could produce the same things and sell them for the same price or even less. But the CEOs and the executives couldn't make 1,000 times the salary of a factory worker. And that's just not going to happen. They're not going to go for that. See, understand this. With those fake luxury brands and with everything else, you are paying more for the goods than what they're worth for only this reason. For the reason of outrageous executive pay packages. That's why. You are paying to create the most drastic and the most obscene wealth disparity in human history. That's what you're paying for. You're buying that. You are buying wealth inequality. And China is now offering you a way to stop doing that. They're literally offering you the chance to cut out the price gouging middlemen. Trump suspended the tariffs on technology built in China and labeled as American. Again, things like iPhones and so on. But at this point, tariff or no tariff, you shouldn't keep buying Chinese goods from fraudulent price gouging American middleman companies. You should stop. Because that's all they are. They're just middlemen, price gouging middlemen. The veil has been lifted. The curtain has been pulled back. You have seen the scam that they're running on you. They're already overcharging you by orders of magnitude, even without the tariffs. And they expect you to keep going along with it. But you shouldn't. You shouldn't keep going along with it. I've been talking repeatedly about the need for Americans to build bridges, rank and file Americans, to build bridges with the global South, especially Muslims in America, to build bridges with the Muslim world. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. Reach out to the manufacturers in China, either to buy goods directly from them or to sell in the U.S., or work together to build your own products, build your own supply chains, and get to work making contacts in the region to start selling across Asia, selling across Africa, selling across the Middle East, or what have you. Now you see why I've talked about the need for cultivating community in the United States and solidarity. Because look, if you don't have the capital to do what I'm talking about, you don't have the money to invest. If you have a community where you can pool your resources, think about it. If you have just, say, 20 or 30 people in your community, 20 or 30 people, and you each put in $100 or $200, so now you have somewhere between $3,000 to $7,000. Or say maybe you reach all the way up to $10,000. Okay, so you contact these factories in China. You order an assortment of wholesale items, from hoodies to sunglasses to watches, cosmetics, what have you, phone cases. Then you organize a block bazaar, selling at 100% or 200% markup, which is lower than the standard retail prices. You determine your markup depending upon your costs. So say you get sunglasses for $1 each wholesale from China. And then you sell each pair at your block bazaar for $8. Okay, at the end of that, inshallah, your community has made a nice bundle of money that you could put into a fund for neighborhood needs, a community fund, to help people pay their utility bills, to help people pay their rent, to buy school supplies, to buy groceries, whatever. Eventually, you could even potentially fund your own startups in your community. You earmark a portion of the profits to continue financing those block bazaars, those community markets every month, every 2 months, whatever's feasible. I mean, why not? Which masjid can't do this? Well, you could create your own waqf this way. You can create your own source of funding for your local Muslim community, for Islamic schools, a fund for helping people pay for mahr, for marriage, on and on. With a one-time collaboration of collected capital. Think about it. You could potentially create an ongoing source of revenue for your community. But you won't do it. I'm telling you all this, but I know you won't do it. Because you've been so pacified, you've been so numbed, you've been so sedated, so indoctrinated, so Americanized that you have no initiative, you have no drive, you have no sense of urgency, no sense of possibility. You want an app that will pull you up by your bootstraps. You want to take a nap and wake up in a better world that everyone else built while you were sleeping. That's how Americans are. I mean, I already know that there's going to be comments in the comment section when we upload this video, talking about, well, what about this? What about that? What about this complication? What about that complication? That difficulty, this difficulty, and so on. Because you have no problem solving skills. So any challenge or any hurdle is prohibitive for you. It's like that video of that girl who hired a movers to move a box full of books that was too heavy for her to carry, because she couldn't even think herself to remove half the books and put them in a second box and just make 2 trips. Because problem solving is insurmountable for Americans at this point. That's why you're in the situation that you're in, and that's why the power structure can do to you what they do. Because you're basically just lumps on the couch cushion, arguing about politics. Honestly. In the Muslim community and outside the Muslim community, you would rather give your money to some politician's campaign, thinking that they're going to make everything right for you if they just get elected into office. You'd rather do that than to use your money yourselves to make your own community better right here, right now. Positive change is literally right at your fingertips, but that's still too far away for you. And you know how I know this? Because all of this information that these Chinese manufacturers are putting out on social media, all of this information that they're spreading on TikTok right now, all of that information has always been available. It's not like it's new. You just never looked into it before. So if you say, for example, you can't do what I'm suggesting because now there's tariffs on China, so it's not going to work, Brother Shaheed. Well, China's not the only country on earth with factories, brother. You can get goods from Vietnam, from Indonesia, from Nigeria, from Mexico, from all over the place. Thailand. You have options, but you have no initiative. I mean, prove me wrong. I dearly hope you do. Everybody always likes to tell me that I'm wrong, even when they can never prove that I am wrong, because I'm not. But I dearly hope that you can actually prove me wrong about this. Because look, if you put just say $4,000 out of that 7 or 8,000 or 10,000 to purchasing goods, with the rest going to expenses and so forth, you could triple or quadruple that amount of money over just one weekend of sales potentially. Bring $12,000 to $16,000 to your community, or say $10,000 minus expenses and whatnot. You could do that every month. You could do that every 2 months, even twice a month if it's possible. Imagine the difference that you could make to your neighborhood. Imagine the difference you could make to your masjid, to your community. How many people could be helped? How many people could be supported with funds like that coming in every month, every 2 months? That's economic sovereignty on the community level. And that's absolutely what you're going to need in America. Every community in America is going to need that going forward. Don't go to Walmart or Costco or wherever else you people go in America to fund executive pay packages, because that's what you're doing when you go there. You need to normalize going to a block bazaar, going to a community market, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Habituate your neighborhood, habituate your community to supporting themselves, instead of donating their hard-earned salaries to the rich by shopping at some corporate behemoth. Because you already know that you can get all the same stuff now. Now you know you can get all the same stuff without the price gouging. Obviously, something like this is scalable. I mean, you could network communities across the country, masajid across the country. The 501c3 organizations, which most mosques have, they're allowed to import and resell. Or you could start an LLC. Or make use of what China just launched, which is basically a shopping visa, where you can go over there yourself. You could find some designated buyers, designated shoppers to go over there with some empty luggage and fill it up, bring it back and declare it as personal items. You know, that might end up being less expensive than shipping. I mean, don't get identical duplicates of the brands, though, obviously. Because in America, you could actually get charged with selling counterfeits or intellectual property violations or copyright infringement or what have you. So if you're trying to sell so-called pirated goods, you'll get in trouble. But get something close enough, you know. No one's going to be interested in those brands anymore anyway. That ship has sailed. So anyone who's thinking about going over to China and getting a Birkin bag or a Louis Vuitton bag without the logo and then selling it at Birkin bag prices in America, no, that's not going to work. That's a bad idea. But you can get the same quality and you can sell it at a reasonable profit and you could finance a community fund with that money. I don't see why not. Why not? They're always telling you in America to have a hustle mindset, have a grind mentality. No, what you need is a solidarity mentality, a community collective mentality, a mentality to lift your people up, help each other get ahead rather than trying to get ahead of other people. You know, try to make your community better, not try to get the better of your community. And that way you can circumvent these predatory, fraudulent, price gouging corporations. You can cut them out of your life and get them out of your neighborhoods. Make your community your own Walmart. Make your community your own bank. Make your community your own loan office. Make your community your own healthcare provider. Make it so that every time someone in your neighborhood wants to buy something, wants to buy a phone case or a handbag or some lipstick or a power bank or whatever else, some clothes, that they buy it from the community market. They're contributing to the financial upliftment of the community. That's doable. Well, if you take that to scale, like I said, if you took that to scale, I don't see why you couldn't eventually even potentially buy the houses on your block. You know what I mean? Imagine. Who knows? Maybe you could even fit houses in your neighborhood with solar panels and get people out from under the electric company. Moving forward in America, y'all are going to need to build solutions like this for yourselves. Alternative community power structures, independence, and neighborhood sovereignty. There's not going to be a way for you to survive without this. You need to think of yourselves just like you are actually from the global south, and you're actually just like the global south, trying to get out from under American hegemony. You need to think of your own situation like that. Get out of that competition mindset and get into that cooperation mindset. Solidarity, cohesion, collaboration, community, togetherness. You can't keep going along with that dog-eat-dog lifestyle when you're nothing but chihuahuas surrounded by wolves and jackals. No, the deck is stacked, so you need to play with your own cards. The dice is loaded, so you need to use your own dice. You understand the game is rigged. I don't know if you're scared of being called a quitter or what. You'd rather be a loser than be called a quitter, because that's all you'll ever be as long as you play their game. A loser. Because that is the game. You're actually a loser as long as you play that game. No, you need to start this, what I'm talking about, in your city, then go and teach them how to start that in another city. And before you know it, you can put these companies out of business. Or if not put them out of business, you can at least get them to change their business model so they don't price gouge you for the sake of fat executive salaries. This is how you take boycotting to the next level. You understand? Stop being a captive consumer, because your captivity leaves you with no options. But if you can provide for yourself, then you don't need these companies anymore. And if you don't need those companies anymore, then they're going to have to earn your patronage back. That gives you power. The power to reject them without hurting yourself. Like I said, this is doable. You can actually do this, but I don't think you will. I don't think you've got it in you, to be honest. I think that your society has made you so passive, it's made you so hopeless, it's made you so helpless, it's made you so unmotivated. They've got you so docile and so sedated that I don't think you are even going to lift a finger. You won't lift a finger to even reach for the rope that could potentially pull you out of the pit that you're in before they bury you alive. But wallahi, I hope that you prove me wrong. I hope so badly that you prove me wrong that I'm even willing to help you prove me wrong if anybody shows that much initiative. Wallahi. So I'm saying you need to prove that you really are part of the global south, that you deserve to be part of the global south. Prove that you have that same resilience and resourcefulness as the people in the global south have. Prove that you have the same spirit as the people of Burkina Faso, that you have the same spirit as Mali and Niger, the same spirit as Senegal. You know? Show that you're the real comrades of Ibrahim Traore. Show that you have the same spirit as BRICS, and defy those same powers that BRICS is defying. Do the work to secure your own sovereignty the way that they're doing the work to secure their sovereignty. Be part of that global movement against Western corruption, the global movement against Western domination and exploitation, and do it right there in their own house. Because if you have to be in the belly of the beast, well, I'm saying at least you can be an ulcer.